What's up guys, it's Chris Majestic, and today we're checking out the new Nvidia Shield TV 2019 version. If you've never heard of the existing Nvidia Shield TV, it's one of the most powerful streaming boxes out there. Not only can it be used to stream 4K movies and TV shows, but it's also a gaming console and can even run as a Plex server, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So this year, Nvidia released two brand new Shield devices, the Nvidia Shield TV Pro and the all-new Shield TV. So first, let's start with the Shield TV Pro. So the Shield Pro retails for $199, and when opening the box, the first thing you notice if you're familiar with the older Shield TV is that it comes with a different remote, which I'll talk about in a little bit. The Shield TV itself looks identical to the 2017 version, so much so that I had to end up marking one of them so I wouldn't confuse them during my comparison. You have the same ports on the back. You get two USB 3.0 ports, an HDMI 2.0B port, a gigabit Ethernet port, and a proprietary power jack. And it still has two vents, one on the back and one on the bottom, and a built-in fan to keep everything cool. Now, as far as specs, there have been some minor changes to the hardware. It now comes with an Nvidia Tegra Plus processor that comes with a couple of cool perks that I'll talk about in a little bit, 3 GB of RAM, Bluetooth 5.0 and Bluetooth LE, 2x2 MIMO AC Wi-Fi, and 16 GB of internal storage. So there is no more 500 GB version, but the USB ports allow you to easily expand far beyond the 16 gigs. Alright, so let's talk about this new remote. Now, as a longtime user of the original Shield remote, I can say that this is a welcome change. Of course, the first thing you notice is that it's much bulkier, which some people might not like, but I actually think the new triangular shape is comfortable, and thankfully the bulk will prevent it from slipping in between the cushions in my home theater. It runs on AAA batteries, so there's no need to constantly recharge or find coin batteries, and they're nice enough to include two fresh batteries pre-installed. I thought I would be unhappy with not being able to recharge it, but the battery should last much longer now, and the new features outweigh it being rechargeable. One of these features is motion activation. So picking up the remote actually makes the backlit keys light up so you can easily see the buttons in the dark. And speaking of buttons, you'll notice a lot more buttons on this new remote. Aside from the home and back buttons, you now have dedicated power, fast forward, rewind, and pause buttons. And thankfully there's no more volume slider. So we now have volume buttons, which is much better than the older slider in my opinion. There's also a new menu button in the upper right hand corner that's actually programmable, so you can use it to launch your favorite app or trigger other functions. And we have a dedicated Netflix button, since Nvidia claims that Netflix is by far one of the most popular streaming apps used on the platform. So the remote connects to the Shield via Bluetooth, but the remote actually has an IR sensor on top of it to allow you to control devices such as a TV, soundbar, or receiver. And of course it still has the microphone button as well as the built-in microphone, so you can use the Google Assistant to launch apps, play movies, music, or even control devices in your smart home. And on top of all of that, they even included a remote finder so you can easily locate the remote. Alright, so let's move on to the new Shield TV, which I'll likely be calling the Shield Tube in this video just to make life easier. So you're probably wondering what this new tube is all about. Well, the Shield TV is less expensive, priced at $149 as opposed to $199, and with a few minor changes, Nvidia was able to squeeze a full-blown Nvidia Shield into this small package. The tube is about 6.5 inches long and about 1.5 inches in diameter and weighs less than 5 ounces. In the box, you get the same remote as the Shield TV Pro, and you'll notice that the Shield TV itself is only a little bigger than the remote. Another thing to note is that it comes with a basic AC power cord instead of the larger brick that comes with the Pro. This makes it a bit easier to fit into a tight space. Aside from the form factor, there are a few slight differences from the Shield TV Pro. Unfortunately, there are no USB ports on the tube, but thankfully you still get a gigabit port, and they were able to squeeze a micro SD card slot right next to the HDMI port, so you can easily use this to expand the storage. And expansion is probably going to be necessary because instead of 16 GB of internal storage like the Shield Pro, the tube comes with only 8 GB. It also comes with 2 GB of RAM instead of 3, and another difference is that unlike the Shield Pro, the tube can't be used as a Plex server. But other than those few differences, they're still mostly the same, and the tube still performs incredibly well. So the Shield TV as well as the Shield TV Pro both use Android TV OS, and they're both running the latest version of Android 9.0, aka Android Pie, and they'll continue to get over-the-air updates to newer versions of Android. Android TV continues to get better and better and is one of the best looking interfaces, and it's easy to customize and navigate. It also doesn't have any ads, it looks great, and both the Shield TVs fly through the interface with no lag. You can even use the Google Assistant to navigate through it and even search for and launch a movie or video from the installed apps. And even though the Google Assistant is built in, it still does work with Amazon Alexa. So just in case you're curious, here's every Shield TV since 2015. The largest one on the far left is the 2015 version, followed by the 2017, then the 2019 versions. So what's the difference between the 2017 Shield and the 2019 Shield Pro? Well, there are two major differences which both can be attributed to the new Nvidia Tegra Plus processor. The first major difference is the addition of AI upscaling. Now, I'll admit that I thought this was a gimmick at first, but it's definitely some kind of sorcery. Nvidia actually used a deep learning neural network to train artificial intelligence to upscale 720p and 1080p sources to 4K and let it figure out how to fill in the missing detail. And let me tell you, it's nothing short of amazing. Now, it's not completely perfect since it can sometimes over sharpen or change the color or hue of certain objects, and I did have trouble getting it to activate with some content like with my HD home run, but it's still amazing. The second major difference is the addition of Dolby Vision HDR. So not only does its Shield support HDR10, but it now has support for Dolby Vision, which many people have been highly anticipating. So aside from the cool AI upscaling and Dolby Vision, how's the performance? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Shield has always been one of the most powerful set-top boxes out there. It plays 4K content without breaking a sweat and supports your favorite streaming apps like Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Plex, Vudu, Amazon, Google Play, or whatever else you stream movies from. Not only that, but it also supports Dolby Atmos and DTS:X audio formats. And as I mentioned earlier, the Shield TV Pro is so powerful that it can actually be a Plex server. That means you can use it as a Plex Media Server to host TV shows, movies, and other videos that you own and stream them to any device, even outside of your home. And if you have an HD home run, you can use the Shield Pro as your DVR to manage all of your TV and cable channels through Plex and automatically record and store your favorite TV shows, which can be streamed to pretty much any device, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so what about gaming? Well, unfortunately, neither one of the Shield TVs come with a controller, but you can still buy the Shield controller separately. One other thing to keep in mind is that the Shield does work natively with both the PS4 and the Xbox One controllers, so if you have one of those lying around, you can actually use it wirelessly with the Shield. You can either stream games directly over the internet if your connection is fast enough, or you can download them and play them locally. And there's tons of gaming options to choose from on Nvidia's GeForce Now gaming service. So GeForce Now is still in beta, but it works pretty well as long as you have a strong and stable internet connection, and there's a bunch of free game options, and with one of the most powerful GPUs out there, the games look pretty good. Overall, the Shield TV is still one of the most impressive streaming boxes out there and definitely has the most capabilities compared to the competition. The only streamer that comes close is Apple TV, which is great, but doesn't have as many capabilities. The Shield TV is just one of those devices that will be overkill for the average person, which is what makes it awesome. This is why I welcome the addition of the tube version. So the Shield TV Pro might be a bit too much for the average person, so why not make a less expensive version that still does everything you want it to do? Now, as much as I love the new Shield devices, I'm not saying they're perfect by any means. I'd love to see HDMI 2.1, HDR10 Plus support, a lower price on the tube, or even an included controller, but with the addition of AI 4K upscaling and a much improved remote, I think I can give Nvidia a pass. In the end, the Shield is still my favorite streaming box, and Nvidia took something that was already awesome and made it even better. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, go ahead and make sure you mash that like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.